Hello and welcome to From the Rabbi's Bookshelves. I'm Rabbi Elton from the Great Synagogue in Sydney. Our volume today is another volume of responsa, Shailot and Tshuvas, and they're by Rabbi Tzvi Ashkenazi, known as the Chacham Tzvi, born in Moravia and died in 1718. Although he was born in Moravia, he was known as Chacham Tzvi, which is really a Sephardic title, because he spent a lot of his education and also his rabbinate in Eastern Jewish communities, Constantinople and Sarajevo and elsewhere. He later served in Altona and in fact was approached to become the rabbi of the Sephardim of London, a post which he declined. The later 17th century and the early 18th century, when he was most active, were a time of great ferment in the Jewish community, particularly amongst the Sephardim, because of the Shabatai Tzvi. He was the false messiah who arose in the second half of the 17th century, who went to Constantinople and declared he was the Messiah. He was eventually put down by the Sultan and converted to Islam. His effect on his followers was so immense, and people were so convinced that he was indeed the Messiah, that some converted to Islam after him, and in fact believed that a period as Muslims was necessary in order to bring about the final redemption under Shabatai Tzvi. Chacham Tzvi was absolutely horrified and appalled by this behaviour, and he became a determined opponent of Shabatai Tzvi and also of his followers. However, he understood that if you didn't allow people to come back to the fold, you'd create greater problems in the long run. His volume of responsa is called Shailot's Chacham Tzvi. I want to bring one of his responsa, which deals with the Shabatai Tzvi crisis and talks about a person who converted to Islam following Shabatai Tzvi and then returned to Judaism, and now the community want to make him the Chatan Torah, which of course is the highest liturgical honour of the year, the person who is the last to be called up to the old reading of the Torah before we start again on Simchat Torah. Can a person who's been a Sabbatean, so much so they convert to Islam, should they be given such a high honour? So Chacham Tzvi discusses the intricacies, but then gives a two-part conclusion. He says this: Ki b'makom shebaliteshuva omdim ein tzadikim gemurim yochelim la'amod. A place where a penitent can stand, even a perfectly righteous person who's never sinned cannot stand. Somebody who returns to the fold is very, very highly esteemed. God treasures them very, very greatly. So merely because this man became a Sabbatean and became a Muslim, the fact he's returned in true penitence, not only should he not stand in his way of being given this high honour, it's also to his credit. And he concludes, therefore, Hadavar baror, the matter is clear, she'ein nimnoah ish hahu v'lios Chatan Torah. There is no reason at all to hold back this man from being given the honour of Chatan Torah, because he has returned in true penitence, and therefore he must be received back into the fold and given all of the honours he might otherwise have received, even if you've never become a Sabbatean or a Muslim in the first place. Thanks for joining.